Okay, so in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to create a revolved feature. So we're going to start with a part, and there we go. And first thing we need to do, as with any other part, we need to start with a sketch. And for this one, I'm going to choose the front plane to draw on. And then the first thing I want to do is I want to just kind of outline a rough sketch of the profile for my part. And so I'm just going to come down and create just as I said, a rough sketch of what my part should look like when it's done. Kind of like that. And then I'm going to draw a construction line here to the midpoint here. And then I want that to be vertical to keep it all symmetrical. And then I want the axis of my revolved part to go through the origin. So I'm going to slide some of my parts up here to kind of bring everything up so that the axis can go right through the part. Next, I'm going to choose my construction line and the origin. And I'm going to make those coincident. That'll put the part mid-plane right through the origin as well. Alright, so now, since I want the same design on the other side, I'm going to do a mirror entities, and I want the entities to mirror first. So I will select all of those, and then mirror about. It wants a line, just like in AutoCAD, it wants a line, only with SolidWorks we can choose the line instead of choosing the endpoints of the line like we did in AutoCAD. And as you see by the preview, it's going to place it right where we want it to be. So then I'm going to click OK. Now, as you noticed, or may have noticed, it places a whole bunch of relations using the mirror tool because it basically is mirroring all these points. And so that's what these constraints are here. So now I want to add some more relationships. Actually, I think what I need is dimensions rather than relations at this point because everything is mirrored and set up relationship-wise like I want. So then I'm going to click Smart Dimension. Oh, one more thing before we get that far. I need a center line. And this is going to serve the purpose of my axis. And so I'm going to choose that line, Control select the origin, come over here and place it at the midpoint. And now, in order to make everything fully defined when I'm all done, I want to select, let's go with this side here, this point, and I'm going to select this edge, and I want to make that coincident. What that does is that keeps that point in line with that line there. So as this gets bigger or smaller, my axis gets bigger and smaller. So now I'm ready to place my dimensions. I'm going to back up a little bit here, and I'm going to, whoop, sorry about that, still getting used to some of the controls a little bit. There we go. And smart dimension. I'm going to start from the inside and work my way out. So I'm going to start with this line to my center line, and if you notice, if I drag down below the axis, it knows that, oh, I'm going to have a diameter here. So it's going to place a diameter dimension for me. So now I can choose the diameter of 0.75. And then I'm going to come up here. The next point is here. And it already had my center point, or my my axis chosen, so it defaulted to a diameter dimension, and that is 1.25. And since this is getting large quick, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place a dimension to move the outside out 4 inches, and you notice that grew quite a bit there. So now I'm going to do the same thing here, and that is 3.75. Next, we want that point, it's 3.5, and then I want this point, which is 1.5. And that gives me all of my diameter dimensions. So now I need my outside width here, which is 1 inch. I need my rib thickness, which is 0.25. And then I need my hub thickness of, how thick is my hub? It didn't give me that dimension. Pardon me for a moment while I find what our hub thickness is supposed to be. There we go. It is supposed to be 1.5. There. Alright. And now, if you'll notice, it is fully defined. And so I have all of my dimensions that I need. So next, I'm going to exit the sketch. With my sketch selected, I'm going to go to Revolved Boss Base. And it wants my axis of rotation, which is going to be the center line that we drew in our sketch. Next, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit there. Going to go over some of the features of this before we go ahead and exit. Um, Blind, just like in the standard extrude, we get different options here. We can go mid-plane, which in this example, since we're going 100 or 360 degrees, it's the same. But if we only went 180 degrees, it would go mid-plane from our sketch, both directions, halfway. If we go blind, of course, then it chooses that direction, or if we hit the reverse direction, then it would give us the other half. In most instances, for a revolved feature, we're going to have 360 degrees. There are a few times where you might want to use the others, and you get the same options like you would with a standard extrude. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And that gives us a wheel. For our wheel, we want to, say we want to put some bolt holes through it. And so we want to have holes in this face here. So first we want to sketch, and I'm going to choose I'm looking for the planes, and they're not showing up in my list here. So I'm going to go here and make sure that they show up like they're supposed to. Default planes, we want to go ahead and show those. And click OK. And now they show up. Alright, so now I'm going to go down through and I'm going to pick the right plane. Since that plane bisects my part, I'm going to right click and click sketch because I want to place a sketch on that plane. Here we go. And now I want to sketch a hole. And just like in any other sketch, we need to dimension the size of the hole. And let's see, our holes are 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to add a relationship between that hole and the origin, make it vertical. I'm going to place a dimension here from the origin so that we know how far from the center it is, and that is going to be 2.5 diameter, so we divide by that 2, and that places that hole. Now, I did it this way so that I could use this feature called circular sketch pattern. Now we're going to do this in a couple of different ways. I'm going to do the sketch pattern one first. So, whoops. We'll choose that circle. And it's picking the origin by default, which is perfect because that's exactly what we want. And then we come down, how many holes do we want? Say we want 5 holes. It will do that. Normal hole patterns are in even, unless you're talking about car tires. So we'll go ahead and leave it as 5. And then click OK. Now you'll notice that that is underdefined now. To make that fully defined, we have to define the other points. So first of all, we want this to be a construction because we don't want that to be included in the sketch or as the extrusion. So by starting that circle at the origin and picking the center point here, which we've already dimensioned, it made that circle defined. But now we need to place the center point on that circle and another one. And once we get enough of them defined on that circle, it fully defines the sketch. That's one of the strange things that SOLIDWORKS does, is it forces you to use relations and dimensions to define things like the patterns. You would think that it would choose the center point and you're choosing this circle and you're telling it how many you want and it's a circular pattern. You would think that it would just fully define that right within that tool, but it doesn't. So that's one extra step that needs to be done with patterns, is you have to define where those are at, even though you use the tool to tell it where you want it. Alright, so then we go ahead and exit the sketch. And we can go ahead and extrude cut. And then we choose whoops, through all both. There we go. And then we can click the OK, and it puts our holes in for us. So that is one method. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and go through a second method for doing that here. We're going to go ahead and right click and suppress that. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude cut. Come on, there we go. Using that sketch, but I'm going to not extrude cut everything. Whoop. There. I only want one of them. Click OK. And this would be like if you only drew the first hole in that sketch and then extrude cutted it. Which, okay, that's great. It gives us one hole. Now we can do a circular pattern within the feature ribbon. We can choose that feature. And then we need the axis. There we go. We're going to choose that axis right there. And then we are going to choose how many holes we want. Equal space. and it knows that it's going around that axis, so it just equal spaces 5 of them around that axis. Click OK, and now we can go ahead and turn the temporary axis back off, and there's our holes all over again. And using this feature, we don't have the problem of dealing with having it fully defined or not. It automatically knows and keeps track of where it's at and makes sure that it's defined properly. And so that concludes the demonstration for a revolved feature with a circular pattern. If you have any questions, comments, maybe a little more detail on how you might use some of the other features, please send me an email or add a comment down below, and I will try to either add another video or append this video with those comments and questions. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope this has helped.